Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
Literally a guest star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin to lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name.
And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to PSGL here, F3 for round 6 around France. I, of course, will be one of your commentators and one of your hosts for this lovely little session we've got here, otherwise known as JGM, or, as you can see directly below me, Joshua Griffin-Meek. And, of course, I am joined by the one and only charitable cause, of course, the man who's just finished a 24-hour live stream, Alex Heron. As you can see, he's looking a little tired today, so can we please be a little easy on Alex here? Half asleep, wanted to go back to bed. Certainly. It's lovely to see so many people in the chat already. Of course, we had Mr. Richens and then Timon already going on mute. Brilliant. We love to see it. Means I can say whatever I want. I can talk about how SRC have gone in the mud. But other than that, we're looking very, very strong today. We've got a great grid, and we've got some brilliant drivers taking place, as well as SRC's new signing of Jack Humphreys, all the way from Australia, staying up nice and late to come and race. It's fantastic.
It is, isn't it, Josh? It is. It's good. I saw Jack got signed up. Well, I was going to say this morning, but it was actually this evening when I woke up. But yeah, no, I am a bit tired. I won't lie. But we're
just a bit.
Just a bit. We're here at France. The home of French motorsport is Paul Ricard. They do a lot of testing here.
Yeah.
But let's test the standings and see what they look like.
Let's test the standings, indeed. We can see Daniele Peroni taking the lead here, but again, it is so close. Tony O'Shea, Riccardo Benzoni, point after point with a small gap back to Timo Zlenkovic, Nando Moreira, Matthew Alder, no longer Adler. Definitely gone through a name change, and we just didn't read his... Aldler. We didn't read his name wrong for the last part of, what, the entire game life cycle? Absolutely not. No chance. No.
That wouldn't be us.
No,
couldn't be us.
Absolutely not. Yeah, okay, well. So, yeah, okay, sure. It gets on. It gets going. But we do have a lot of drivers here. Very much looking forward to being able to get themselves out on track and give it a little bit of a run, of course. We know Paul Ricard certainly can be a bit of a challenging track, can't it, Alex? You are required to use a little bit of that slipstream, DRS, battery, all of them somewhat play a role together in order to try and maximise your lap times around here. And I believe we've already got a couple drivers out on track looking to try and get it to work.
Yeah, we certainly do. And the lead of those cars is Mr. Bogdan Moldovan, who is in the Alpha Tauri. But yeah, as you're mentioning, Paul Ricard isn't I wouldn't say it's the hardest of circuits, but it's not the easiest circuits either. It's got these weird blue and red lines around the circuit. There's no real gravel traps anywhere. So that can put drivers off as well. And there's a lot of tricky curbs, and it's, to be honest, there's a lot of straights and heavy braking zones, like a Formula 1 circuit has.
Yeah, it's, you know, if you was to ask a 4-year-old to drive a Formula 1 circuit, they would come up with something like Paul Ricard.
Yes.
Lots of technical twists, technical turns, hard braking points, long straights for overtakes, everything any driver could possibly want. But I am noticing we've almost got every single driver out on track already, still with 16 minutes left to go. Either they're all very much eager to go and try and get a run in, or they're really trying to play a little early April Fool's prank on the lobby host here today, who, bless their soul, Tom Roberts, stepped up. Of course, our normal host, JS Day, isn't here today, so he's decided to bite the bullet and take one for the team here by setting up the lobby, sorting it all out, and risking a potential for grid penalties. So, are we going to see a grid penalty here in this qualifying session with how close we're following, Alex?
You would expect so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You would expect so. I don't think we get one normally, but maybe it's just because there's a bit of cloud in the sky. I don't know if there's a chance of rain here at France. Obviously, Paul Ricard has had rain before. Not in like a modern day F1, but we've had a lot of rain in sim racing before. around this circuit. 'Cause I don't actually know where Paul Ricard is located. It's like,
It's
is it south of France? Or is
yeah,
it...
it's the southeast of France, not too far away from the Monaco border. Only reason I know that's because Nico Rosberg decided it'd be a great idea to take one of his actual one of his road cars around this circuit, and only said it took him a half an hour drive to get to a circuit, which if you think from Monaco, might as well call it the Monaco Grand Prix 2.0, no?
Might as well. Did you know Nico Rosberg beat Lewis Hamilton in equal machinery?
Did you find that fact in your book again, Alex?
No, he doesn't mention it enough, and I thought I should mention it on stream.
Well, bless your soul. I'm sure Nico is clearly watching in the chat and
He is. He's a big fan.
Saying thank you, praising you for remembering the interesting statistics, some of the most important ones as well. But we do have some other names in the chat. Of course, it's not only Timon and Nathan here. We've got Max, we've got Elliot, and then of course we've got James Head popping in saying evening to you as well, James. Hopefully you're doing all right. It's lovely to see you in the chat. And it's lovely to see all these drivers getting on with the laps. Bogdan Moldovan now, coming up to the Sector 3. We talked about how it's tight, it's twisty, it's technical, but it also opens that window for a bit of creativity for these drivers. They can take different lines to one another. They can really try and find what suits their driving style the best to try and maximise the lap time out of it, whether that's going to be clunking along the curbs, taking it a little easier. There's a whole window for a couple of these drivers to really try and get themselves going through a lap here, as we are going to see the first lap come across the board. And I do believe it'll be from Nando Moreira here, the F7R driver, looking to get that Aston Martin on the timing sheet, and it will be a 1:28.412. It's not a bad start from Nando Moreira, but we can expect drivers to keep improving off of that as we see Alder, not Adler. I had to stop myself there again. Going
Alder.
Well, yeah, okay, Alder. Right, I'll get it sometime. Alder. It's okay. I believe.
The thing is, as well, I don't know why we called it Adler as well, because it doesn't even start with an AD. It's AL.
It's Alder. I was completely, like, dumbfounded by it as we see Riccardo Benzoni popping himself up towards the top of the timing sheets. Where's Daniele Prodi going to put it? Up to P3. Now, 8 thousandths difference between himself and Riccardo Benzoni. Surely not a bad start for our championship leader here in the qualifying segment, but you've got to think, the further they go on the circuit, the more it'll evolve, the more grip's going to be put down. And considering it's an overcast day as well, you would think they'll be a little bit more willing to push those tyres, and they won't necessarily overheat as much.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that, because I think honestly the clouds will help the circuit out. But yeah, track evolution is going to be very helpful. I expect everyone to get a lot faster as the session goes on. I was very surprised that Bogdan didn't want to finish his first lap time.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. I mean, different drivers have the different running patterns, the different techniques, what they like and what they feel comfortable with. Perhaps Bogdan just didn't feel like he did enough and thought, you know what, instead of wasting it by, you know, going through these last couple of corners and then doing a whole in lap, I'm just going to dive in the pits. I weren't happy with it. I'm going to save myself a little bit of time on the circuit. What were you in at? Oh dear.
I think Bogdan, he pulled across one of the cars, but I think it's just because they were both on a slow lap. I thought the Alpine was on a fast lap. But it's fine.
It's okay. It's okay. Not the end of the world. You know, relatively speaking as well, this grid has been very, very clean in the last couple of weeks. We only had the 2 penalties being applied to last week's race, and of course, we've only had the 1 penalty applied from... Wait, no, I've said that wrong. 2 penalties from 2 weeks ago, 1 penalty from last week around Canada as well. It was only a 5-second time penalty. So, no drivers getting qualifying bans or anything of that malarkey. Everyone's been really well behaved and really respectful to one another. And again, it's just another key quality PSGL brings to the table. Having this close competitive racing, but keeping it fair, honest, and, you know, not letting it get over the top.
Yeah, it's been decent, hasn't it? It's got a lot better in terms of because we had a few penalties over the top on occasion, but everyone's been driving very well. And around France, it can be quite penalty heavy, mostly due to track limits, because track limits around here aren't very good.
Yeah. I feel like the less said on that feature, the better. But
yes,
we got Bogdan here, maybe trying to prove a couple of these track limit problems and showing us how to solve them, and being able to get away with a little bit of bloody murder. Because you can really exploit the exit at turn 1 here. The inside curve not as much, but the exit you can certainly try and gerrymander yourself around with it just a little bit to try and find a little bit more time. But Bogdan, once again, maybe a bit too honest, maybe trying to keep it too far within the track limits, not necessarily pushing the car as much as he would like, but it is still a purple first sector regardless, so it's looking so good.
Yep, looking good so far. He's got DRS wide open there as we head into the braking zone. And it can be a tricky set of corners, but he's done that well. Get the power back on as we head up towards the top of the hill. And then you want to basically swing it into this this right-hander. Don't have to lift here. If you've got enough downforce running on the car, you can make that nice and flat, doesn't lift at all. And then into a very tricky section. I like this circuit, this section of track. It's one of my favourites. It feels very nice and flowing. And then you want to switch it back. You can ride this curb on the inside or literally touch the apex on the outside, ride that curb on the outside, and then get the power back on. As we go through the final sector now, and he's put it back in the pits again.
Very, very interesting. We're gonna
Does
have to keep
Does he have a collie ban that we're not aware of?
No. Oh, very interesting. Gonna have to keep an eye out for that one. But no, you mentioned turn 10 here. The flat right-hander is absolutely fantastic watching these cars go through, especially if we get the pleasure of seeing a couple of cars go too wide. I don't want to say 3 wide because that might cause an accident. But this last sector of the track, how it undulates, how it rides up and down, it's a little bit like a roller coaster. And it always reminded me of very much an ocean. Because you're dipping in and out, you're running, there's a lot of blue everywhere. Really reminds me of being, you know, on the sea. So, you know, maybe we might be able to see one of these drivers pirate themselves a great pole position lap. I'm really trying, Alex. I'm really trying.
I just realised what you did. I realised what you were talking about, and then my sleep-deprived brain was like, oh yeah, I know where that joke's going now. I don't know if you know, we had when we were, this is just about the charity very quickly, when we had TK come back on. It was early in the morning for TK. He's meant to be there earlier, but he didn't set his alarm. He didn't wake up, and he came on, and he was speaking like Tom Jones. He has like the deepest voice in the morning when he wakes up. I don't know if you want to go check the VOD out. Like, he sounds like Tom Jones, but apparently he might sound like that more now when he's commentating. So
okay, is that over at twitch.tv/deflink10?
it is, yeah.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
No, it's a brilliant little event you were able to put together yesterday. So I feel like everyone in chat could forgive you for being a little bit tired. I know I certainly can. Raising a whopping £501 for a special effect charity.
We've got to dye our hair now, Josh.
Exactly. I'll be turning blonde again.
Yeah, myself, you, and TK.
Where's Dylan Warren? He would love it knowing I'm going blonde again. But one of these drivers who's going to be looking to certainly pull out a lap which no ordinary blonde driver would be able to pull out. I'm looking at Valtteri Bottas there, the new Australian. Will be Andreas Franco here. Currently running under the SRC tag in that McLaren car. Certainly not the best result last time out, but looking to improve on it here. And so far, currently sitting in P13. It's not been a qualifying session they would necessarily be hoping for, but again, 7 minutes left on the timer. A lot of time to be able to find this improvement. And considering my teammates top in the timing stand, we could potentially be seeing a McLaren 1-2. Or maybe even an SRC 1-2-3 with Jack Humphries getting himself up there as well, of course. It's 4 o'clock in the morning for Jack, so we're going to have to give him a little bit of time to render and kind of shake a leg or wake up a little bit. But he's a very, very good driver, as we see Simeon Viola there come across the line with a 1:28.0 and Tomasz Laminen as well with a 28.1. Showing track evolution, it's a thing. It really is. It's no longer just a myth. We can prove it.
Oh,
it's Riccardo
Benzoni does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Daniel Prodi proves it even more. Wow. These are some close times today.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a ridiculously close top 3. And the rest of the grid is very close together. Tom Roberts is going to be actually getting their first lap time on the board. So they're going to cross the line now. Are they going to put the set of cards? Go 12 fast. It's very nice.
Jack Humphries up in the top 5 there as well. So many different drivers here who you could potentially try and, you know, put a poll together, see who would potentially be able to grab pole position here. But chat, let us know your predictions, who you think is going to be able to walk away with the pole position here. Daniel Prodi looking absolutely solid so far, has looked solid throughout the entire season, but you've got Riccardo Benzoni on that rampant return after the Monaco accident, losing a front tyre, looking like he wants a bit of vengeance, climbing himself all the way back up. Simeon Viola right up there as well. Jack Humphries, of course, looking to try and get himself back in and really get himself cracking here in F3. And so far, he's done a fantastic job up at P5. And then, of course, we've got Mr. Alder, no longer Adler. The name changes in full effect. Trying to close up to that top 6. And there's really not much in it between any of them. You're looking at, what, 3 tenths between first place and 13th place. It's ridiculous how close these drivers are. It's ridiculous how much time they all put in practicing, making sure they've got the setups dialed in, making sure they've got everything in the right operating window. Even regardless of, you know, different tyres having different pressure needs for certain weather conditions. They would have prepped for overcast, would have prepped for sun, but would have prepped for the intermediates and the wet tyres for running in their conditions as well. Understanding exactly what goes into being able to put a great lap together. And certainly, these drivers very much looking to kind of nail themselves into that sort of window range around the 28.2 is where we're going to start seeing a lot of these drivers ready to try and push it. And if we did have a knockout window, I would say it would probably be midpoint 2, I would say, for the top 15 here, considering how much it's evolving, how much pace a lot of these drivers have. You look further down the order, Alex, you've got Tom Roberts, Santa Maria, Zelenkovic, Lindhart, Domine, Moldovan and Tope. They're very quick drivers. They can easily get into that 0.2 range.
Yeah, everyone very close together. Everyone enjoying this track clearly. In terms of being close together, I wouldn't say it's normally one of those tracks you'd expect to be as close like stuff like Austria is, as I say. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this race if this is the sort of pace we're showing in qualifying. But Josh, talking about name changes, next you'll tell me Tony Richet is actually called Tony Ritchie, and not Tony Richet.
No, it's Tony Roche.
Tony Rasha.
Tony Roche. I'll tell you something as well. It's not actually Riccardo Benzoni. It's Ricard Benzoni.
Ricard Benzoni.
There's actually not an O there. I'm not sure why in the PSGL and in the Discord there's an O at the end. I feel like it's just to add a little bit of swaz, but it is actually Ricard Benzoni. I heard that one.
And it's Simon.
Simon
Viola.
That's how we pronounce it anyway. We're terrible.
It's Simeone Viola.
Jack Humphreys.
Jack Humphreys.
Yeah, potentially.
Matthew Adler. Oh no, wait, no.
Well, oh, there, it's happened. Timon's asking in chat, did Legend get a slip? 0.1 middle is nice.
Gerard slipped.
Gerard certainly did slip, but Javier Domine is not looking to slip here. He's going to be shooting himself back into the pit boxes. We've got to see a couple more drivers rolling out the pit lane here. 3 minutes left to go in the session. Perhaps a double installation lap here, making sure they can get that best possible window for a little bit of grip on track. You got both the Red Bulls coming out in an orderly fashion, Legend and then Race as well. And then slightly in front of them, I do believe you've got Alexander Dimas and the Aston Martin of Jack Humphreys, which will certainly be something to keep an eye on here. Because we know Dimas, once again, another one of those quick drivers, not always perfectly consistent, but he's always there or thereabouts towards the top end of the field. It'll quite often take something out of their control to fall down the order.
Yeah, it certainly will, but we are now going for our final laps of qualifying. Javier, Bogdan and Tope not coming out of the pits yet. Bogdan's just come out, but both Haas cars, and we get our first grid penalty there as we will have a lobby restart.
Moment of silence.
No, moment of silence for the lobby restart.
So, okay, Tom Roberts will never forget the host who never wanted to host, but needed to host for this brilliant piece of entertainment to get on there. Thank you, Tom Roberts, once again. Tope rolling out the pit lane now. Javier Domine still chilling in his pit box as we see more penalties getting applied here. Something tells me it might be something to do with, perhaps just before the minstrel chicane. I'm not quite sure what tells me that, apart from the fact we've got about 12 dots in the space of a corner.
Yeah, they look closer on the map than they actually are on the thing. Oh, Valentin Lambert has been disqualified for too many grid penalties.
Oh my.
Wow.
Well.
I've never seen that one before. I've never seen the like.
I've never seen the likes of that one before. I don't know what that was. Help. It's not.
It's more hype than I have in my entire soul.
Well, I'll tell you what. Shall we do the ride on board here with Nando Moreira, the first driver to set the final lap of this session? You can see coming out of the point there, trying to get the best exit possible. Minimal wheel spin, using the DRS now, deploying a little bit more of that battery. Certainly ERS usage is going to be so key around getting the perfect qualifying lap. Braking just after that 50, flicking it into the left, over the right, trying to clip the curb, running it as far to the left as you can without invalidating. It's going to be very, very careful before coming up here into St. Marine. at the turn 3, turn 4, brilliant stuff. You can see him riding the curb over to turn 5, but again, just riding the curb a little bit too much, invalidates the lap time, but we'll stay on board here as we come out of 6 here, approaching into 7, another fast left-hander before coming onto the start of a Minstrel straight. You can see here, priming up, making sure they stay over to the right-hand side, the racing line, less marbles, a little bit more grip for the braking zone. It all adds up together. We get the 150, the 100, and then at the 70 metres, you decide to slam on the brakes, flick it to the left, back over to the right, and then you want to try and eat as much of that curb on the left as possible, but you've got to be careful not to eat too much of it, because it can disrupt the balance of the car. And then we approach up here into turn 10. Flat right-hander. It's absolutely beautiful watching these cars go through. You just can't beat it, can you, Alex? You really, really can't.
No, you can't. These cars, even though this lap is invalidated from Nando, like, you know, the downforce era of Formula 1, I like the ground effect era. It does allow these cars to just be flung into corners, and you really show the pace and speed of these cars. As these come around the final sector now, tricky left-hander into a bit of a tight braking zone, and then the final main straight here. DRS wide open, and you come up to the line, and you just pull the gears, see what lap time you pull out. To 28.1, it would have moved him up into, well, next to his teammate in P5, but he's invalidated.
Yep, absolutely. It's
Oh,
the first driver to get a lap time across board. Legion Rosenberg, brilliant stuff there over 28 flat. With that little 3-1 on the end, doing brilliant stuff there. I'm going to be wanting to keep an eye on Tony Roche here, personally. It looks like he's on a cracking lap time, but of course we do have a couple more drivers in between himself and then Riccardo Benzoni's going to be one to watch here, looking to come up towards the line here. Where's Riccardo Benzoni going to be able to put this car? 28 flat again, but it's not quite enough to improve that lap time. Andreas Franco invalidates his lap time. That's not going to be good. I believe we've got Sixten Lindhart next up across the line. What's he going to be able to pull out the bag? P15, it's not quite there. Timo Zelenkovic up into P10. Where's Tony Roche?
Oh, only 5th. But ahead of Pizzoni again.
Having dominate last across the line, jumps up there into 17th place. And you got to think, as far as things go, Matthew Alder up into P2. Brilliant stuff there. The new name, new driver. I'm telling you, it's fantastic stuff from the McLaren? The Mercedes.
Mercedes.
I feel like I'm not. You're not the only one who's sleep deprived here, Alex. Matthew Alder doing a brilliant job to get himself into P2, but again, pure domination from the likes of Daniele Parodi, showing why he is leading the Drivers' Championship at this moment in time, grabbing his pole position, looking forward to start this race with a 10th gap back to Alder in P2. Then we've got Laminen P3, Legion Rosenberg P4, Tony Roche P5, Riccardo Benzoni in P6, Simeon Violo P7, Jack Humphreys, the Aussie, staying up nice and late, grabs himself a P8, looks forward to the race, moving himself a couple places up. Reyes in P9, Andreas Franco P10, Zelenkovic P11, Moreira P12, Dimas P13, Tope P14, Roberts 15th, Santaria 16th, Domine 17th, Moldovan 18th, Sixten Lindhart in P19, and then Valentino Labella, unfortunately getting that disqualification, which I'm sure they're not going to be very happy about.
No, would that assume them, because we didn't know what their lap time would have been, is that going to start them at the back?
P14, I believe.
P14, because are we comparing what their lap times were
Yes.
to the people that didn't do lap times? Okay, cool.
Yes. Should be set. You've got the lobby restart, Alex. You don't need to worry.
But that we keep the weather from
We're
the
supposed
same.
to. We are supposed to. But let's not say anything too much here. Okay. Let's not say anything too drastic. I've just read. I shouldn't have read chat from the drivers. We've already got.
I've also just read the chat as well.
Sixten Lindhart openly saying, "Can I just not do the race?" You couldn't guess. We might have saw a little bit of water there, just a little bit. But James had mentioned it's a great lap from a multiple-time PSF1 champion. Certainly was a great lap from. Hold on. Wait, can you hear that sound, Alex?
What? I know. What is it?
Oh, sorry, hold on. I need to... Oh, okay, right, okay. That was the director telling us we're no longer allowed to talk about any hoo-ha. We're not allowed to buy any more time. We're not allowed the buck. Apparently, we've got to run an ad. And apparently, we're supposed to not mention we're supposed to run an ad, and we're supposed to do a segue for it. Alex, segue.
Brum brum.
Brum brum indeed. SRC has the promo out right now. You can pre-order yourselves the new F1 24 bundles before the game's even released. We've got testers working on the game as we speak to make sure you can get the best setups dialed up before even the game comes out. You can get them the day before release. Looking forward to seeing a lot of the drivers tend to, base their own setups around the SRC setups. I feel like it could certainly be something great looking slightly further forward for the lifespan of a new game. And of course, you could also still get them for F1 23, the likes of WRC as well. We've got so many different setups all available. Go check them out. And also, don't forget to check out our esports team. There's a funny man called Timon who runs it. He's doing a brilliant job. But of course, let's switch it over to SRC. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, mandatory adverts are sorted, but you might have noticed it wasn't just an SRC advert, it was a GTO Mega advert. And I feel like we can only really talk about our experiences within our own, GTO Mega chairs. Of course, they are fantastic pieces of kit. We've got them here, absolutely beautiful, very comfortable. But, I don't tend to sit at my desk a lot. I'll only sit here when I'm doing uni work, whatever else. Most of the time, I'm sitting either on my bed, outside playing football, doing something to keep myself active, because I believe staying outside is the best way to do a lot of things. But I know a person who may have recently spent a whole 24 hours sitting in a piece of GTO Mega kit, and he's alongside us right here. So, Alex, how was it?
It's very comfortable.
Your legs not hurt?
No, not at all. Actually, my back was fine. Is that actually? No, I can tell you the one thing that did hurt was my neck, but that is because I have really bad posture, and I'm like something like that. So.
Are you sure it wasn't because the hat was weighing you down?
The hat was where is the hat?
Oh, I shouldn't have mentioned anything about his costume.
Here we go.
Oh.
R.
Well, that is absolutely fascinating. R is the best thing. Couldn't even call it a pirate joke.
What do you call a pirate with one arm?
I don't know. What do you call a pirate with one arm?
A one-armed pirate.
What? I can't believe you just said that. Well, other than that, didn't necessarily get qualifying predictions in the chat, but we can ask, between ourselves here, Alex, who do you feel like is going to be able to go on and grab the win here after that qualifying? Of course, Parodi getting brilliant result, pole, but we've seen time and time again, pole doesn't always mean a win here in F3, because a lot of these drivers like to battle until the very, very end of a race. Who do you feel like is going to be able to get themselves into a brilliant position for this race win?
Well, the top three are TF10 drivers.
Yes.
So obviously, I know that they're all part of different teams, so it's not really that important. But obviously, they're going to be talking together. They would have had similar strategies and similar plans. But obviously, if we're at the same point with this weather, well, we might have a little spoiler on what the weather's going to be like, which could change everything. So. I don't think I'm going to be a fence sitter, Josh. I'm not going to make a prediction.
Oh, you're boring. You're boring. I can already see James in chat. Let us know who you feel like is going to win, James. Keep an eye on you. Don't you worry, sir. For me, personally, I'm going to go out there. Simeon Violo. I reckon that Sauber driver is going to do something. Could say would have a little kick up the rear. There's a lot at stake. Let's
What?
see them zoom through the grids.
Oh, I
and
get it.
hopefully don't make a Bottas of themselves.
Mm.
I can't think of any more sponsors on the car to make a pun, to be honest with you.
Let's hope they don't make a mistake. Because steak.
Um,
I don't know if they've got any other ones.
let's
They got
hope
the
they'll
two-
be
they got the-
tasting some sweet champagne instead of some sour. Burr.
A sour bar. You can tell we've got nothing for today. In
We're
terms
trying.
of-
We're really trying. I mean, we can sit and bore you to death with the facts about this circuit, like the fact it's 3.6 miles long. You know, a traditional full race around here will be 54 laps. Fortunately, we've only got the 27, so we won't have to blind ourselves seeing the blue and red everywhere, every single lap. We've got 6 corners over to the left, 15 to the, 9 to the right, 15 in total. Yep, 15 in total. And then, of course, you've got the DRS zone, which is going to play a huge feature. But you've already heard all of that before for every other Paul Ricard stream. I'm sure we can find a very interesting fact. Alex, can you remember the fact we like around Bahrain? How it was voted as one of only 2 tracks in the world to receive the FIA Great Healthcare Award certificate for its facilities?
I do remember. Yes.
The shorter Bugatti-sponsored karting track at Paul Ricard is the only other one than the Sakir International Circuit to share that award. Not the full circuit, just the Bugatti-sponsored karting track.
It's very impressive.
There you go. That's a fun fact you wasn't expecting.
Yep. You don't get that anywhere else.
No, only us.
And
That's
some people
reason-
may be grateful for that.
Might be grateful, might be painstakingly furious with us. But again, matter of time. You know, some people like a couple of outrageous facts, other people not so much. Other people just want to hear us be a little bit stupid while we wait for the race to get set back up. But I will have to say, you know, credit where credit's due. I believe Tom Roberts might have set up this lobby quicker than what the actual lobby hosts are able to do. So, fair play. Because we were already loading back into the event.
Very nice.
Oh, Carlson says he likes it. Thank you, Carlson. At least
Thanks,
someone
Carlson.
appreciates our stupid facts. Better than Nefanius Richardus, that Brummy needs to shut it. I'm going to be quiet considering we live about 20 minutes apart from each other. But he's actually got the accent, I don't.
And also, Richards did a good job for me yesterday as well, because he was part of the charities.
Yeah, well, I mean, you brought 2 people from the West Midlands to go be folks on an ocean.
Yeah.
We don't know what the ocean is, but we're good at being folks.
He's never played the game before. But now he doesn't want to stop playing it. He loves the game. He says he's going to retire from F1 commentary and just play Sea of Thieves commentary full time. That's what he said to me last night.
You know, I really think we should do a boat race.
A boat race.
A boat race. We should commentate on a boat race.
We should. I think that'd be good fun.
Chat, how would you feel about a little bit of a VT segment commentated over some paper boats going down a stream? Just like in the in that film with Ronald McDonald.
Ronald McDonald.
Yeah, that one.
Oh.
The one where Bill Skarsgård acted as Ronald
Not
McDonald.
not McDonald's Ronald McDonald. I remember
No.
a paper boats film with him.
The You'll Pop 2 one.
You're just saying words, and I don't understand.
Alex, I'm so sorry, but I love it when you're tired. But we do
Well,
have.
We got 5 lights.
There you go. You feeling up to it?
Let's go. It's
let's
lights
go.
out, and away we go for the start of the French Grand Prix, and it is full wet conditions here at France. And we race down into turn 1. Daniel Brody leads the way, followed by Thomas Lavender, then Matthew Adler, then Lyndon Rosenberg. Trying to battle wheel to wheel, and he's lost out positions there at the start. As we got a spinner in the background, and it's Andreas Franco for SRC. For McLaren, he's spun round as Banzoni and Richet are going wheel to wheel. It's not a good start for McLaren, as Andreas Franco's already spun round, but he can still catch up to this pack, as Richet is still going wheel to wheel there, as Jack Humphreys is now going to go up the inside. and the new man from SRC, the Australian, who probably feels how I feel right now as they go wheel to wheel down the straight that I can't remember the name of.
Minstrel.
Minstrel.
I got you. You got to think like the Galaxy Suite. So that's how I remember it. As we see, Jack getting that move sorted, moving over to the inside, just trying to get that defensive line.
Oh no!
But he's ended up tapping Tony Richey in his round. That's not the ideal start for Jack Humphries. Oh, that's so unfortunate. It's almost 5 o'clock where he is at this moment in time. I sure hope he didn't shout with any frustration, otherwise he might have woke up 1 or 2 of his neighbours. But certainly someone who needs a little bit of a wake-up is Matthew Alder. Losing out on P2 and falling back here by about 6 tenths. He's going to have to get a move on here. Surely shake a leg. Try and catch back up to Thomas Lavinen. Otherwise, they might be risking Daniele Peroni being able to run away in this wet condition.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that, as we got Race and Timo Zelenkovic having a good battle wheel to wheel here. It's actually so good that Race has gone off the road. He's come back on it a little bit dangerously there, and he's actually given a bit of room to Timo Zelenkovic there because he knows he can't take that position off the road, but there's still wheel to wheel through this section, then wheel to wheel through the last couple of corners. Neither of them want to give it up. They're very happy to stick wheel to wheel with each other. And as much as it's cool for them battling and cool for us to watching, it's going to lose them time. But they're still wheel to wheel, Josh. They will not give this battle up. And it's now Zelenkovic on the inside, and it's Reyes on the outside. Zelenkovic going to go all the way around the outside, and he's finally made that move stick, and he's into 7th place. But he's lost about 1.8 seconds to the car in front of him.
That's going to be huge. We know DRS can play a prominent factor, of course. When it's wet, they don't have access to the DRS, but you cannot take away the slipstream that these drivers would be able to get from being within, 5, 6, 7 tenths of the car in front. Could potentially play a huge part in the remainder of this race, as we are getting the AWS possible race strategies telling us to stop on the wet tyre.
I'd like to see it. I don't think it's going to happen, though.
I don't think anyone's going for a 2-stop on the wet tyre. I can't.
I've never seen it happen before.
It's brave.
But it's the first time for everything.
Absolutely, of course. Sim racing at the end of the day, you can throw up some curveballs no matter whichever way you look. As Nando Moreira started looking to try and throw themselves a little bit of a money ball here, finding themselves gaining a lot heading into that minstrel chicane under the braking, clearly carrying a little bit more downforce. But once again, really struggling to get out of the corner, keeping the pace as we got Reyes and Zelenkovic still fighting side by side here. When are they going to
fight forever?
It's 2.6 seconds here. They can't keep going. Surely not.
They've both used half their battery as well. They just fancy having a little wheel-to-wheel scrap, and I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. It's more the people behind them that I worry for, because they've all got to get through this pack and get through them. Yeah,
now you got Nando Moreira as well. Stocking up on that battery there, but there's only so much you can stock up before you kind of force to deploy it a little bit, as we see Violo and Dimash getting very close together, and of course, lobby host himself, Tom Roberts, getting a move sorted on Ivan Santamaria. I do believe that was round the outside of the final corner. Very brave stuff there from the Mercedes driver, looking to keep his head down and close up to the back of Javier Domine, the FBR driver currently racing in the Haas. But again, it's so close in this, second pack for the Grand Prix, isn't it? All the drivers really looking to try and maximise any sort of time they can find on one another, working together as a cohesive unit in a matter of laps. I can almost guarantee trying to close up to the back of this top field, as we've got Tony Richey, Riccardo Benzoni, once again, still just having a little squabble with each other. Not a full-out brawl just yet, but certainly a squabble, to say the very least.
Yeah, a squabble indeed. And at the front of the grid as well, Daniele Peroni still leads the way, though. 3 TF10 drivers, 1, 2, and 3 here, followed by Mr. Rosenberg, who's just a little bit behind them in terms of pace at the moment. But I believe we have this weather for quite a while, Josh, so settle in. This could be a long stint on the full wet tyres.
Certainly will be, and we'll see the true drop-off off of this wet tyre the further they go into this race. Of course, we are expecting it to dry out towards the end, perhaps into intermediate conditions, as we do see Tony Richey making a very bold move to the inside of the long left-hander at turn 11. Brilliant stuff.
Ooh.
But again, he just can't keep it on the road. It's so unfortunate, because he's ran it a little bit wide. That'll compromise his exit here. And now we're going to see Riccardo Benzoni all over the back of Tony Richey for the remainder of this sector. Might not even see him on the back. We might see him into the side of him if he ends up losing a rear like that one again. Riccardo Benzoni with a great catch on that McLaren car to keep it outside of the Ferrari.
That was very close. I was watching on board there. That was very, very close indeed for Riccardo Benzoni. But now he's not exactly like he's got a bit of pace right now, Josh. Once again, is it another weekend for Benzoni, which is slowly slipping away from him?
Potentially, but you've got to keep your head down, don't you? You can't afford to, let your momentum, let your confidence droop especially considering a lot of these drivers would have put on a dry setup thinking about the qualifying, getting themselves dialed into that window before hopping over into this lobby and realising the race is going to be majority wet. So, could definitely see a couple of these drivers move their way up the field, very similar to what we see Bogdan and Alexander Dimash doing there. Oh, I really wish the game would give us a better camera so we can actually see Dimash going for the move. Brilliant stuff as Dimash there reclaims that inside line and retakes himself P11. But again, so much fighting happening between all these drivers. Tom Roberts is really trying to have a little look there in the Mercedes car, isn't he? Very cheeky to try and put it around the outside, heading up through turn 7. Might have to rethink that one. Maybe just stay behind here for a little bit as they approach the Minstrel chicane. Bogdan pulls to the inside, gets the move sorted before even braking zone. Dimash not looking to fight that one in the slightest.
Oh. Wow. Launen takes the lead.
A little bit back to the points.
Bit of badge deployed, decided to go in front of his TF10 teammate Daniel Brody. They're not teammates here though, are they, Josh?
No, it's every driver for themselves here for this race. They might be working as part of the same, liveried car. They might be working together as the same sort of team dynamic outside of a track. But as soon as it comes to the track here at PSGL, you know all these drivers are fighting individually. They want what's best for them. They don't necessarily care about who they're racing. They just want to win. And every single one of those drivers can relate to that, understand exactly where I'm coming from, and try and pull on the best performance possible. As we see Dimash there, once again getting overtook. This time it's from Tom Roberts here, who gives him a little bit of a squeeze. And Dimash really struggling on those rears. You see him sliding there all the way through turn 14, heading into turn 15 before the main straight. He's really struggling to get any sort of temper control in those rear tyres. Could we potentially see these wet tyres already wearing away on lap 5?
Yeah, they look like already struggling, don't they? I wonder if we've got a bit of overheating problems from some of these tyres. It does look like Parodi's struggling to slow the car down in terms of these braking zones. I'm just seeing him lock up his tyres quite a lot. Of course, no one likes using the full wet tyres. Not even actual Formula 1 drivers like using the full wet tyres. But hopefully he can get some grip back into them. But at the moment, Mr. Laminen looks like he's trying to pull away here.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, we look at the battery deployment there for Laminen. I mean, realistically, it's wet, so I don't mind showing the battery because they all get a chance to recharge a little bit more. Sitting on 60%, very similar to Daniele Parodi. So maybe Daniele really needs to, put the hammer down just that little bit more. Try and hold on to that 1 second gap to Thomas Laminen. Realistically, he's going to want to be within the 7/10 gap to try and make the most of the slipstream available in these wet conditions. Certainly something Thomas Laminen's really looking to try and avoid. If he's, thinking about this strategically, if it does drop into intermediate conditions, he won't have to worry about that DRS buffer he would have to build. He's just got to make sure that whatever sort of slipstream Daniele Parodi's getting, it won't be enough to offset the balance between having to carry, a little bit of dirty air through these corners as well. As we see Laminen pulling away here at this final sector, taking those different lines, taking maybe a slightly more karting eccentric line, getting the work done. Absolutely brilliant stuff there from Thomas.
Yep, it's looking like, at the moment, a good race for the TF10 driver. Thomas Laminen leading by 1.4 seconds. I was just watching Leon Rosberg there. He's sort of just right behind these guys, and he's trying to catch up to the top 3 here, Josh. Is there a chance we can see Mr. Rosenberg get involved in this? We've seen how fast he can be. And, these sort of conditions, it's one of those things where it kind of also, even though people are really good in the wet, it kind of neutralizes everyone's pace. Because... Yes. It's in full wet conditions. Even if you're say if you're good in the intermediate conditions, you're good at driving in wet on inters. It doesn't translate to the full wets because no one really likes driving these tires. And even if you're good in a wet condition, it can all change up in a full wet track. Especially with Adler here. Sorry, not Adler. Older going around the outside of Daniel Parodi, and Parodi down to 3rd now. I think he's really struggling with his tires, Josh.
Yeah, those tires don't look like they're in a great position at all for Parodi on that Williams car. Alder making himself up into P2, but he's still got that 1.6 second gap. Thomas Laminen certainly putting the hammer down. But as you mentioned with Legion Rosenberg, he's a wise driver. He's got the experience under his belt. He knows exactly how to pace himself when it comes to these wet condition races. He knows he's just got to look after his tyres a little bit more. Let the young guns absolutely try and fly off in the distance. And I believe that's what Daniele Parodi might have tried to do. Might have tried to push it a little bit too hard early on. And then, of course, you can see Legion now really trying to size him up for an overtaking opportunity, heading through this 3rd sector. you'll see the difference in experience here. Unless you're not afraid to try and put it down the inside, try and make it a little bit awkward for Daniele Parodi, and that's exactly what he's done, forcing Parodi wide, kind of spooking him a little bit off the racetrack, as Parodi now sinks himself all the way down into P4, and you might start thinking, the likes of Tony Richet, maybe Riccardo Benzoni could get onto the back of him, but Riccardo Benzoni's dropped off so much, he's almost re-merged with his own pack here in the middle of this field.
Yeah, and I wonder if Benzoni's having very similar tyre problems to what Parodi is. Now, we know how much these tyres can overheat if they're not in the right working temperature, but of course, by the looks of the conditions on track, this is the right working temperature for them. It's full wet conditions, and they should be doing exactly what they're meant to do, but sometimes, depending on certain setups these drivers are running, they may have higher tyre pressures that would probably put their temperatures up, I believe is the way it works, or it's the other way around, but
Yes.
as Alder knocks off the bollard there on the corner. But yeah, the only where Rosenberg is struggling is just around that little right-hander before the was it the Minstrel Straight, you say?
Yes.
The Minstrel Straight. Yeah, that's literally where he's struggling. But yeah, everyone else seems to be setting into a bit of a rhythm now. Obviously, no DRS makes it very tricky to overtake.
Yeah, it certainly does, but again, it's really just trying to pull out the most of what these drivers are going to be capable of, heading for that final sector, being creative, using the wetter patches on the circuit to cool down their tyres. Not only that, also try and get a little bit more traction out of the car. We do have Yona Martins in chat saying, Tomas the Finnish GOAT. Well, certainly showing a GOAT-like performance, but of course, it is lovely to have you here, Yona. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you're enjoying seeing a Ferrari up towards the top step of the podium. Of course, it's something you'll be very familiar with as of recently. But must be nice to see it here at PSGL as well. With Tony Richet still up there at P5, the way the Constructors is sort of, you know, handing out. We saw SRC take a dominant lead early on in this season, but ever since then, you would think Ferrari, you know, the TF10 duo, have really put their foot down.
Yeah, they certainly have, for sure. And I wonder if they just feel like they could just pull away from this field. If they've got the pace, why not go do it, to be honest with you. But again, with Benzoni, it's 3.6 seconds off the pack already. He's got his own little mini pack.
It's growing well.
Yeah, he's getting pressured. I don't know exactly what's going on with his pace. Maybe he just doesn't like wet conditions, but he was looking good in qualifying until that last lap, and then it just hasn't gone well.
It's all just gone, hasn't it?
Not gone well at all.
I wonder if we can maybe summon a mysterious Timon, if he's already not got sick of our voices, to maybe see if we can find out what's happening with Benzoni's car, if of course he is working the engineering shift there for the SRC outfit. But we do have a lot of drivers who look very hungry behind him. Of course, you got Zelenkovic. We know he's not afraid to make move race as well. Another one of those drivers who showed so much pace early on in this season, kind of fallen into a slight slump, but certainly looking very, very racy. See.
See, I get it. I get it.
Okay, it took him a little bit, but he got there. And then, of course, we've got Nando Moreira, one of the standout drivers from the early part of the season, really trying to get up there, having a little battle, trying, you know, alternate strategies, whatever can work, really, just going for it. And one of those drivers you've got to, you know, take your hat off to for being brave enough to go for these very bold strategies. Making it work as well for the majority of the time. It's absolutely fantastic. It's lovely to see a different level of racecraft in comparison to what the other drivers would do. Yes, they're all very talented, but the way Nando kind of works his racecraft around the strategy, not his strategy to his racecraft, I find is truly a remarkable feat for this young driver.
Got a driver in the pits, Josh.
Oh, Bogdan Moldovan.
Is he going for that famous wet two-stop strategy we've heard so much about?
Surely not, but...
Inters?
No, as we got more
Well,
drivers.
Linhart's retired.
Yep.
He didn't? Oh, no, it's not Inters. It's for wets.
Right, okay.
Maybe
Right.
AWS wasn't lying to us.
Okay, 8 laps on the wet tyres. Drivers feel like they've had enough of them. They want to get off them as soon as possible.
Well,
very interesting.
We were seeing people struggling on them, and I'm surprised that they were struggling that much, to be honest with you. But again, well, to be honest, in this year's game, I'm not surprised by anything anymore. And after last night's 24 hours, definitely nothing surprises me anymore.
Well, certainly one thing which might surprise you is the time delta. keep an eye on that. It was 11.6 when Bogdan got out of the pits to Tope. I can guarantee you in 2 laps time that'll be down to a what 8 seconds, 7 seconds. It's already at 10, mate. I'll lower your value by quite a bit because the life you can get and the extra level of grip you can get off of a fresh set of wet tyres is absolutely immense, and these drivers know that. If they had an opportunity, if a VSC came out, I'm sure every single one of them would dive into the pits for a full set of wets again, just to make sure they can get themselves into that operating window. And really try and maximise their usage of the tyres, because at this point, they don't look like they're going really slow, but in comparison to a fresh set of tyres, which they all had at the start of the race, they're going so much slower.
Yeah, they certainly are, and I just want to point out my thing might be okay, 'cause it's 10.3, and you said after 2 laps, not after 1 lap. Well, that's a bit annoying. Thought I was going to get away with that one. No. Well, Race is in the pits now as well, so he's going for his pit stop. So is Simeone.
Yes, we got Simeone Violo, Ivan Santamaria, Tope all deciding to call in the pits, and well,
no one brave enough for the Inters, Josh.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I would have to agree with them. It doesn't.
No,
exactly
yeah, it's not Inter's weather.
No.
Oh, Jack.
Oh, it's unfortunate for Jack. Picked up a 3-second time penalty, but again, it's what happens when you're pushing so closely behind another car. It can be so easy to try and extend your bounds just by the smallest of margins and end up receiving a time penalty for it. Unfortunately for Jack, that's exactly what's happened. And, you've got to consider as well, if you was up towards this top part of the field, with the likes of Legend Rosenberg, Daniele Parodi, Matthew Alder, the risk, it's still there, but the pressure is amplified for these drivers, really trying to battle it out here up towards the top, because they know all it would take is to call the pit stop at the exact right moment, 1 or 2 laps leeway, I would say, to be able to dive onto, a potential set of intermediates, or maybe go straight to a set of dries if the hair dries come out on the circuit, as we like to put it. They could potentially see themselves leading the race on a brand new, fresh set of tyres, which would be so beneficial in comparison to those who would have had, maybe 1 or 2 laps running on a set of tyres before calling it in the pits, which might not be optimal. Then they've got to rejuvenate the tyres back to life, get the temperature back into them before pushing. There's so many different sort of methods that these drivers would have to take, as we see Daniele Parodi diving it in the pits. Yeah,
I'm not surprised. He's been struggling for a few laps, so let's see what he can do on a new set of tyres. But as I'm going to do a little bit of a Martin Brundle quote here. As Martin Brundle says, in these conditions, they're basically just expensive vacuum cleaners. There you go.
Alex, for my birthday, could you get me a vacuum cleaner?
Do you want an F1 card, Josh? Is that what you want?
I mean, if you're offering to buy me one, I mean, we can clip that on chat.
Which one would you want?
A working one would be ideal.
Do you want a F2004?
If you're really offering, yeah, of course.
Well, D-Max has just set the fastest lap time of the race with a 1:44.6. Is that an improvement of the track or an improvement on the tyre?
Tyre, definitely. Otherwise, Alexander Dimas might be in an F2004. Trying to fly it down the straights, of course. Fantastic. You got me thinking about it now, man. Honestly.
I'm not going to buy you an F2004.
Okay. We can cut the I won't part. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Right? It's fine.
It's fine.
But of course, it has turned to 8 o'clock. So if anyone was interested in what might be happening over on the F2 or the F4 streams, now would be a great time to go and have a little peep, see how their qualifying sessions are going. But don't forget, keep a tab open here, have a little look at how this race is going to play out. You might be able to feed some valuable information over to the commentators and of course over to the drivers there as well, who would be looking at chat, keeping an eye open, seeing if anything is available for them to pick up and try and implement to their race strategy. Certainly, one of the drivers who doesn't necessarily, need to work on anything at this moment in time because they find themselves in a very decent position will be Daniele Parodi. P12, fresh set of wet tyres, cruising, bit of an open space in front of them, fresh air, clean air, loving life.
It is good in one sense, Josh, but I'm gonna pose another question to you.
Okay.
If the cars in front, say Mr. Laminen, Older, and Rosenberg are not having tyre problems and can make these tyres last until we get a little bit of drier weather, is it not good for Parodi because he's gonna have to catch all these cars if he's gone with this alternative strategy?
Yeah, but you've got to think, like, these drivers know the track will be drying up towards the end. how much longer do the drivers in front feel comfortable stretching those wet tyres? It's apparent they're not working great, as we're seeing fastest lap after fastest lap for the drivers who are deciding to dive it into the pits. Really showing that, you know, over the last 11 laps, they've kicked up enough water to make this track a little bit quicker for these wet tyres, making it a little bit more available for grip. The question remains, not as has Pirodi made a mistake here, it's more down to the variable he can't manage of how quickly is this track going to dry out. Is he going to dry out to the point where they're going to be able to run intermediates from lap, what, 20 onwards? Because at that point, I would still even argue Pirodi might be in a good window, because he's able to push on these tyres. He'll get a better understanding of how the track feels underneath him. With it being slightly drier on a fresh set of tyres, it won't be as much of a shock as it would be to the likes of Laminen or Alder, who might be looking to go straight to that intermediate phase, where they're going to end up slamming on the brakes and end up braking way too early and just measuring braking points, turning points, having to get, you know, a couple corners to get acclimated back into the track conditions. So for me, it very much depends on that. I reckon if it's after lap 20, the drivers dive it into the pits, I think Pirodi's in a good window.
Well, we're going to find out, aren't we? Because it's lap 13 now of 27. We'll see how this goes. Not many cars in front are boxing, so Pirodi is going to have to close in on them. But he's already going to catch up to Javier here, who is struggling on his 11-lap-old full wet tyres.
Yes, absolutely. And you'll just see the infinite amount more grip as Pirodi sets fastest lap of a race, getting a better traction out the final corner. And Javier Domine knows there's no point fighting it. You're just going to waste your own time. You're going to waste your own tyre life. If you're looking to stretch those tyres even longer, why would you want to go off the track? Why would you want to go off of that racing line? Other than trying to collect a little bit more water, but you can still see here, even on the racing line, water's there. It's still very much available for these drivers to be able to pick up, drive through, and cool down their tyres. They're not having to try and search for any water to keep the tyres in check. For me, Pirodi's on the winning strategy. I'm calling it now. I can see Pirodi winning this one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big call, Josh.
Yeah, and what?
He's put his money on it. He's put his money where his mouth is.
Of course I have.
Yes. Well, very interesting. If obviously that does happen, Josh has said he will sing a sea shanty at the end of the stream.
Of course I will. I'll sing Wonderwall again and get this video copyright striked. No, I don't feel like the higher ups at PSGL would be too happy with me singing Wonderwall. But
Do an actual sea shanty. It's not copyrighted.
well, I'll tell you what. If the people, lovely people in chat, aren't already a part of the community over at PSGL, you could come join using the link in the description. Join the Discord, get yourselves involved, see an opportunity, and perhaps we could do maybe a couple karaoke nights or a couple sea shanties here and there as we see Daniele Pirodi making a move there again. But Legion Rosenberg, again, wise head, veteran driver, diving it into the pits now onto a set of fresh wet tyres. You'll see the undercut working out for Pirodi, but has Legend called it a bit late?
Yeah, I think it's the thing with Rosenberg that he's seen the pace of Pirodi, and we know the undercut is powerful, but I think around France the undercut is 10 times as powerful.
Yes.
I don't know if that's because of the way the circuit is laid out or because the
It's the final sector. I'm telling you, the amount of times you can game it on a fresh set of tyres, you could sling the car through there like it's a an X2010 and feel absolutely no regard for your own safety, chucking it through the lefts and the rights and trying to hold on every which way possible. As you see Racefair making a very opportunistic move up the inside of Javier Domine. But no, I'd say undercut is so powerful purely down to that final sector.
Yeah, the undercut does really work in that final sector. I think you are right, and also the pit lane is only 37 miles an hour. So it is a very slow pit lane as well. But yeah, Pirodi up into 7th now, and Mr. Rosenberg came out in 14th place behind cars who are already on pretty fresh tyres as well, Josh. So he's not exactly going to be gaining on them like the other cars would be. Laminen, Older, Roche, Zelenkovic, Moreno, and Roberts all on 13-lap-old full wet tyres, and they are yet to pit in this race. Are we going to see them come in the pits now? Yes. Laminen is in. They are diving in. Matthew Older stays out. Tony Roche stays out. Well, Roche makes sense because he doesn't want to double stack with his teammate. Is that pit stop from Laminen to cover off Rosenberg?
Yeah, but the rest of them, they're not coming in. Laminen's the only one to respond to it. And again, it's on a fresh set of wet tyres.
Well, Parodi's going to get him here.
Easily. Parodi's going to get him, and I would dare to say even Legion Rosenberg's going to get him. And then,
Going to be close.
it's going to be an awkward situation. They've clearly shown they've got the pace in this wet
It's
condition.
going to be very close. I think he's done it. I think he's pulled it just at the right time.
Yes.
But he's going to have cold tyres. He's got to be careful he doesn't get attacked from the off. But Benzoni almost got him as well. Look how close that was. He's right behind him. Rosenberg, unfortunately, I think came out a bit too late in terms of traffic. If he had done what Parodi did and pitted a bit earlier, pulled the trigger a bit earlier, he might have got them. But Tom Roberts is now under pressure from Danielle Parodi, who moves himself up into 5th place.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff there. Again, we forgive you for yawning.
Sorry, everyone.
It's perfectly acceptable, considering the great feat of charity work he did. As we see Leisure Rosenberg not feeling as charitable, with a little wheel banging there to Valentino Labella, making sure he gets the move sorted. Might not necessarily be the best idea to cause a couple of rivalries with some very aggressive overtakes, deciding that you're on the freshest tyre out of the remainder of this bunch back here. Because all it would take is Valentino Labella to decide, okay, right, if we're going to play like that, I'll send an absolute dive bomb on you, and then we're going to end up both losing time, which is certainly going to not be in the plans for Legion Rosenberg, looking to just get his head down and pull away from the rest of his field. Very similar to what Daniel Eprod has been trying to do, and you'll see, once again, making swift move on Nando Moreira, taking that opportunity when it was available at turn 14, getting that move sorted, and now he's looking to try and size up Timo Zlenkovic for the first place on the podium, which of course will be 3rd place overall in this race.
Yep, and Parodi, you know what, Josh? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe you might be right. You might have made the right call here, and saying that he's got a chance of winning this race, because I think he does. To be honest with you,
yeah,
got a real good chance. As Rosenberg, he's up into 10th place now.
Brilliant stuff there from Rosenberg, but again, just see the rate of knots that Parodi's catching the likes of Zelenkovic, really showing that 10-lap-old tyre difference is absolutely huge for these drivers. It'll feel like a complete different set of tyres once the drivers swap over, as we see Parodi making a move around the outside. Brilliant stuff from him, climbing himself back up into P3. 6.5 seconds now to gain up to the back of Tony Roche. Roche and Alder have done a fantastic job out front at the minute, but has it been good enough to buy him enough time until the weather decides to start changing over towards, a slightly drier track? Because at this moment in time, it still looks like it's really cats and dogs out there, to be honest.
Yeah, it still looks full wet conditions. I don't know if they're going to be able to stall this one out, to be honest with you. Especially with the likes of Thomas Laminen, who is slowly closing up to the back of race. And Rosenberg as well. He's just got to get past Riccardo Benzoni. Yeah, Legion Rosenberg. He's probably a bit annoyed that he didn't get the undercut he thought, might be possible on the Ferrari. But he's hopefully got to hope that Racer holds off Thomas Laminen as much as he can. But it's so difficult with the lack of grip, Josh, especially when you got Laminen. But a great defense there from Race as Laminen gets forced off the road. But to be honest with you, I don't think he was going to make that corner anyway. So I think it's very good defending from Race. And he's trying to fight his way around the outside. But you can see what Race is doing here, Josh. He's really holding up his teammate. But it doesn't matter because Rosenberg can't get past Benzoni.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be so tough for Race to be able to sit and see Thomas Laminen flying off into the distance, but Race did a fantastic job just trying to hold up the Ferrari for as long as possible. Just trying to make sure as well, they've both made a pit stop onto another set of wet tyres. Both of them are technically fighting for track position, although one of them is going to have a clear advantage on the tyre life. It's going to be unfortunate, but you can expect Race and Legion Rosenberg not to really fight it out too much. I mean, they are on 2 different strategies, still battling for that same place on track. Both of them still looking to try and hold on to a P8 there, but you've got to think, with 4-lap fresher tyres, Legion Rosenberg's going to have a little bit more pace. If you're Race, why would you want to fight it, especially considering it's your teammate at the end of the day?
It's teammate, you're both part of the same outfit, and clearly I think Race was doing a little bit, even a little bit to try and help out. Of course, yeah, as you said, they're battling for track position, but I don't think you battle that hard against the car with 2-lap-old wet tyres compared to your 7-lap-old wets.
Yeah, it's not necessarily worth it, is it? It's about picking your fights, understanding who you're fighting with, and I'm sure Race is going to be looking slightly further back to the likes of Benzoni on 2-lap fresher tyres and thinking, right, that's a battle worth having. I think I can win that one and defend in that position, instead of trying to, burn out all the tyres, looking to hold on to every last inch of grip they've got on that wet tyre. to their teammate who's on a fresher set, as we see Thomas Lammerman making the move on Tom Roberts. Again, we are starting to see these drivers approach to the rear of the 16 old lap wet tyres, but perhaps not at the rate and knots they were originally anticipating.
Yeah, Lammerman now down the inside of Nando Morena is looking very easy for the TF10 driver. Just want to say, Daniel Brody's pace has slowed down a little bit. He's not as fast as he was earlier on, because he's now on those 7-lap old full wet tyres, and this is about the time, Josh, where his tyres started to drop off on the opening stint.
Yes, it is. You know, when those tyres drop off, as soon as they end up hitting that phase, they'll lose a load of grip. They'll be really slow, but they'll come back into a working window. But that working window is going to be a lot less than what it was originally before the tyres fell off. And once they end up hitting to that sort of, you know, secondary working window, as we'll dub it, the pace very much flatlines, doesn't it? It doesn't really get too much slower after that. So that could be what we're seeing here with the likes of Parodi. He's hit that drop-off point. It's flatlining now. And he's really struggling to make sure he's able to keep the pace, to keep catching up to Tony O'Shea and Matthew Alder. Because despite it being 10 laps fresher, they're roughly looking towards the same sort of pace delta on that tyre. As we see Thomas Lammerman making a brief work there of Timus Lenkovic, making it a TF10, well, top 4.
TF10 top 4. And Zlenkovic down to 5th. Rosenberg trying to catch up to the back of Zlenkovic as well. Every time that Thomas Lammerman makes a move, Rosenberg makes a very similar one to the car behind as race. It gets past Tom Roberts, who's slowly dropping down the order as well. But the rain has slowed down, I've got to say, Josh, but it still looks pretty bad out there.
Still cats and dogs at the end of the day, isn't it? It doesn't, I mean, slow down. I'm not sure I would even agree with that, because it still looks like it's absolutely chucking
It's
it
still
down.
pretty bad,
With
yeah.
Riccardo Benzoni setting an absolute hell of a dive bomb of the inside there of Tom Roberts. Tom Roberts, understanding the position he's in, on the older
O'Shea's
tyres,
in.
not wanting to fight it. But Tony O'Shea in. Is this...
And so is Morena in. Wow.
Is this to intermediate tyres?
It is. Well, they couldn't go on anything else. If they'd gone for wets, it would be. What would be the point of the strategy? It had to be inters.
Have they stubbed themselves in the foot, though? You got the likes of Daniele Parodi, Thomas Lammerman, and Legend Rosenberg on fresher wet compound tyres. How long is it going to be until that immediate call-over point from wets to inters, though? That's what I'm worried about for these drivers.
Well, we're going to keep an eye on the guys on the inters runners, aren't we? Let's keep an eye on Tony Roche. He's on the inters now. And I'll watch this lap on board and see how he goes. See how he does.
Absolutely. I mean, how much more do you reckon he would have to push to be able to try and hold on to the back of a couple of these drivers on the fresher compounds? I mean, Legend Rosenberg, Thomas Lammerman, of course, going to be the ones we're going to have to keep an eye on with 4 and 5 lap old tyres, respectively. I'm not exactly too sure you'd be able to directly compare those intermediate tyres to the 9 lap old wet tyres, but certainly something which could be eyeballed at is, you know, the amount of grip we're able to find off of a racing line, because that is where you're going to have to make moves. These wet tyres will not want to move off a racing line for any reason whatsoever. They won't want to try and, you know, go overly defensive when they know they can put a tyre, which potentially could be slightly worse off of a racing line with a little bit more water involved, into that, you know, jeopardising position, having to go late on the brakes, and causing them to lose maybe a little bit of control as well. As Alder's in as well.
Very much so. And Alder's in as well. Well, it's got to be for 4. It's got to be for
Parodi.
inters because he's got to cover off. I think it's inters time. Yeah, I think it is the inters. I was watching Tony Roche for that first sector, and he was very much smooth and complete clean on the throttle there. It is time for intermediate tyres now. I thought the rain was slowing down a little bit, and turns out my eyes did not mistake me even in my sleep-deprived state.
My eyes have certainly forsaken me, but one thing...
But it only stays out.
How far is Tony O'Shea going to climb up this order?
Should jump everyone.
I mean, you would think if these intermediates have got into that operating window. Matthew Alder just
Oh, he didn't get older. He didn't get older.
But he will have warmer tyres.
He will. His tyres will be warmed up. So he's got to just push a bit harder. But he's got no ERS left, Josh. He's got no ERS left.
I mean, I was about to say, do you reckon there could be a chance heading up to the Minstrel chicane? But it's looking very much unlikely at this moment in time. But never say never. We've still got a couple cars up in front here. Matthew Alder looking to close up to the back of Alexander Dimas. That'll be a key indicator to see how quickly they're going to be able to catch up and maybe try and battle the likes of Tom Roberts, Riccardo Benzoni. Because I think at this point, if you're staying out this extra lap, you're looking for that call-over period to the dries, but with 7 laps remaining, you're calling it very, very fine, to say the least.
You're basically hoping your chance on the weatherman. And we know the weatherman does come at some point. And he is going to get it right.
Yeah, he's certainly unreliable there, let's be honest.
He is very unreliable.
Amount of times I've asked Jeff back in the day for a weather report. Rain's 5 minutes away. 20 minutes go by and there's still not a single drop. That's why Jeff got the sack.
Sure. For sure. But 7 laps to go, Josh. Are we going to see these leaders come into the pits? No, they're staying out. Benzoni thinks it's fine. He wants to wait for the dries.
As Ball, Tom
Wow.
in, Bogdan in, Simeon in, and Dimash in as well. So, Matthew Order, he's going to have a bit of fresh, clean air in front of him to chase down Riccardo Benzoni. Certainly a position you might want to find yourself in, as we see Timo Zelenkovic on that intermediate time making a very late move on Andreas Franco. But having the grip to pull it off, showing those intermediates are really coming into a world of their own to make these moves exactly when it's needed. But getting past Ivan Santamaria as well, even before the braking zone down into turn 1, really showing the traction we're able to pull out on this intermediate tyre is phenomenal.
It really is, yeah. And I was expecting the Inters are better at this point. But for Benzoni, 7.2 seconds is the gap between himself and the car behind. And of course, he's going to have to have a straight line speed, but in the corners, Josh, these Inters, these full wet tyres are going to be struggling.
Yeah, they're not going to feel the greatest, are they? They're going to be sliding a little bit. Of course, they've got the we've got the wire tire. Sorry, the narrower tyre tread, because they've got the larger gaps in between to try and pedal more water out from underneath the car, which are going to have deeper grooves in as well in comparison to these mediums. So that'll be why going through those heavy pockets of water, the wet tyres are going to be a little bit quicker than the intermediates, but it works very much the same way. As long as these intermediate tyres aren't forced to go off the racing line, they should be working as sweet as a cherry. So, these intermediate tyres, looking now, 5.9 seconds, 6 laps to go. Riccardo Benzoni's got a very tall task to hold on to the back here, especially considering how much we're all going to close up through this technical part of the circuit. As you mentioned before, Alex, these intermediates, they're looking very, very lethal.
Certainly are, but just in chat right now, we've got that SRC strategy is cooking. It could be, but it's going to need to dry up. It's going to need to stop raining with probably this lap, I imagine.
I mean, you would think, right?
They wouldn't have kept them out there if they didn't have a plan. SRC are very, very good at their strategies.
Is this another plug? Are you going to plug the fact that you've used strategies?
I have used the strategies, yes.
Oh, okay.
They're very, very good. And I've used the setups, and they're also very good. And you can get them yourself. Where can they get them, Josh?
Over at SRC. You can find their website in the description. You can also join a part of their Discord as well, but make sure you do it after you join the PSGL Discord, because we have a fantastic community here at PSGL. We share a lot of the same members as SRC. Fun fact for you, including myself and Alex. Another fun fact for you. Of course, a lot of these drivers well ingrained within both parts of the communities. A couple of them fortunate enough to drive for that SRC esports team, where they'll get exclusive opportunities to work with the engineers to try and dial the setup to their own liking, which is exactly what Benzoni's been doing over the last couple of weeks. It's worked well for him so far, but it doesn't look like it's working well enough for him at this point. This strategy certainly going to be a very tough one to swallow if it ends up backfiring, because that rain still looks like it's coming down at a relatively quick rate.
Well, he's got to make a call now. They've got to make a call. They've got to pin him for Inters, or they've got to just commit to the strategy and just keep him out, or go soft now. It's
go soft.
Those are the two. He's got to go soft right now if he's going to do it.
Yeah, I reckon so. It's still a little bit too wet for the soft tyre, but...
Oh, he's sticking out. He's
wow.
staying out.
Trusting it down to car control. And a bit of defensive masterclass here from Riccardo Benzoni. How long is this defensive masterclass going to be able to hold on to the lead for? Especially when you've got the likes of Matthew Adler with full battery.
Not very long.
Well, there you go. I'll answer your question. It's about half the length of the start-finish straight around Paul Ricard.
Can't even slow it down for the main braking zone because he got a little bit of dirty air and he's already struggling on his fronts.
It's so unfortunate for Benzoni again. But you've got to keep in mind potential for those tyres to maybe get towards dry running. 4 laps remaining of this entire race. As we see Tony Rocheva having a little bit of contact. Was that really necessary from Rocher to get past her?
No, he knew they could get him down the main straight. I think that's very much a Tony Roche aggressive. I've got to get this move done, move sort of thing. But Parodi into second place. Roche knew he could get him down the main straight. There was no need for that.
And would you say as well that could have potentially cost Roche that position for PT by
Or a
having
front
that
wing.
little bit of
Yeah.
content? Yeah, I mean as well. If you pick up the end plate damage, you basically say goodbye. As we got Yona Martin saying, Benzoni just turned in. You know, I heard that too. I heard the polystyrene board turned in as well. Back to Matthew Adler when he was trying to get through this flat right-hander when he first put on those intermediate tyres.
There's no reason why Benzoni needs to back out of that corner. He's still leading in front. So
Well, there you go. That's an example of what happens when you've got drivers trying to push it a little bit harder than what they probably should. Lester Rosenberg runs into the side of Tima's Lankovic there. Just having to settle the horses once again. Or should I say settle the bulls for the Red Bull driver here. Leisure Rosenberg's just got to wait and find that opportunity. He knows he's got the pace. He's shown that. He caught up so quickly to the back of Zelenkovic. It'll come in a matter of laps. He's got the time. He can afford to wait. 2.6 seconds ahead to Benzoni. Benzoni's going to be losing time throughout the rest of this race in comparison to these intermediate runners. Zelenkovic will catch up. Rosenberg will catch up. You've just got to time the overtake slightly better. There's not a manic rush.
well, unless Rosenberg has wing damage now.
Well, potentially.
I don't
There's
see
nothing
any,
invisible, but still a chance for a little bit of that beautiful feature for invisible wing damage, which makes our lives as commentators so much harder. Thank
It really
you,
does,
EA.
yeah. And as a driver, it's impossible to know if you do have invisible wing damage. It doesn't tell you.
No, it does. It'll just show up to be like one saturation less of green.
Well, I just want to point out that it didn't work out for Franco. So Franco decided that the rain wasn't stopping. He went for intermediate tyres. He's now 10 seconds off the back of a car in front of him. So that is the risk that Bozzoni would be taking if he boxes now.
Yeah, and you can see there Zelenkovic getting past once again.
He's
Benzoni,
committed.
He's staying true to this as well. There's a good chance he'll be able to grab a couple points here and there, but of course it won't be like it was when he was up towards the front of the field. But then again,
You get fastest lap.
you've got to try and you've got to risk stuff sometimes, don't you? This is a prime example of it. But being P3 in the championship, was it a bit too much of a risk to take for Benzoni?
I don't think he knew in his heart of hearts he didn't have the pace today in the full wet conditions or in the Indus. He had to try something a bit different. And he's tried it, and at the moment it's not working out for him. The rain is still coming down here with a few laps to go. I think he's going to have to make the call to probably box for either Inters or a set of dry tyres and just hope the rain stops.
Well, sticking it out here for yet another lap. Heading on to lap 25 for Riccardo Benzoni. Legend Rosenberg makes that move into that final sector again, looking to try and catch back up to the likes of Nando Moreira, as Timo Zelenkovic has seemed to have shifted up into another gear and started to pull away. But Tomasz Laminen picking up a 3-second time penalty. Again, it could have an impact on this race, but it will need Timo Zelenkovic to really try and kick it into another gear to catch back up to the likes of these drivers. And that's considering the TF10 drivers all want to squabble and fight for position to let the drivers like Zelenkovic, like Moreira, catch up to them. Because they could very easily just hold position at this point in time.
Yeah, they certainly could. Obviously, it's a TF10 1-4 at the moment. 1-2-3-4 to be exact.
So it's like having Red Bull and AlphaTauri where they were suspected to be at the start of the season.
Yeah, and they're not AlphaTauri, are they? Say what their real name are, Josh.
Minardi.
RB. They're not racing rules, they're RB.
No, they're Minardi. I'm sticking to it.
Oh, Minardi, I get it.
Minardi.
Yeah.
There's a very childish joke there.
I thought about it in my head.
No, we're not Minardiing these nuts. So,
Yeah.
race here, looking to close up to the back of Leisure Rosenberg again. Both these two qualified next to each other on track. Both of them looking to finish together, but in which order, as we see Race there getting absolutely slingshot past Leisure Rosenberg, but Leisure Rosenberg's got to get a slightly better exit. Are they going to be fighting for a position here? Because it certainly looks like it's not exactly an all she wrote of letting Race back past to try and catch up to Nando Moreira in the slightest, does it? He's still hot on his tail.
It's certainly not. It's certainly not. And he's not going to give up that easily. But also, just want to point out here, we got Nando, Moreira, Timo Zelenkovic. Race is still closing in. Rosenberg's still closing in. But for Riccardo Benzoni, it's just not worked out. The rain has not stopped, Josh.
No.
And I guess he's just going to the end now for full wet tyres, and he's going to just finish out of the points. Both McLarens out of the points here, Josh.
Yeah.
And SRC only picking up 1 point overall. I know it doesn't matter in their standings, but, you know, as an SRC driver, you want to be picking up more, don't you? That's what you want to be doing.
Yeah, of course, they're representing the outfit. It won't be a great look on them, but you've got to think it's still a relatively new organisation. You know, they're going through learning phases for your engineering teamers as well. They're all trying to figure out how to gel together in the best possible way. This will just be a learning step for them. You can see with the likes of TF10, long-time team, well stood in the community, showing that, once again, just having that little bit more experience of working together with an engineering team, with each other, can really go a long way. There's a reason why they're up towards the top when it comes to mixed conditions, when it comes to these runs where it can be a little difficult to predict, because all of them know what sort of role they've got to play to be able to pull the points. Think about Thomas Laminen going a lap earlier. Tony Roche going a lap earlier into the pits just to test it out for the likes of Laminen. Laminen knows, and then the engineering knows, okay, right, it's time to call it. The engineer can pass on that information to the other members of that outfit. It's, again, a very technical, very sensible thing to do, I'll say, using the experience that they know they have.
Well, Josh, just want to point out the rain has stopped now.
Oh, it's insult to injury, isn't it?
It is. It's just a bit, isn't it, to be honest with you? I mean, it happens right at the end when you don't need it to. But, we have a few laps to go, and it looks like at the moment, Matthew Alder, who we mispronounced his name so many times, finally finally pronounced his name right, and he's going to pick up a big win here in SRC, but not in SRC, in PSGL.
Absolutely. Team Zelenkovic getting that move sorted on Nando Moreira exactly when he needed to as well. But we will have to keep a close eye on a couple of these battles still heading out through. Simeon Violo looking very eager to try and get a move on Jack Humphries, but again, just losing a little bit more time. And then all of a sudden, it looks like Neshan Rosenberg might have been squeezed just a slight bit, giving Jack Humphries a run up here into the Minstrel Straight. Looking at that turn 8 chicane, the Minstrel chicane, for an overtaking opportunity. It's not quite there, but Nando Moreira's made an opportunity there when it wasn't quite apparent. On the Alpine, where Timo Zelenkovic tried one around the inside of the corner. Of course, it turned back to the outside. And then Timo Zelenkovic now having to go super defensive here, trying to fend off Race. Race clearly has an abundance of pace, going to go too wide here. Through his first right-hander and races round. Oh,
that was going to happen.
Oh, it was destined to happen. You see two cars going too wide there. You always know it's going to happen, but we do have the driver, Matthew Alder, coming out that final corner. Matthew Alder, no longer an Adler, comes across the line to pick up the race win here for round 6 around France. Fantastic job from a Mercedes driver. The TF10 teammate, Daniele Peroni, coming across the line. And then you've got Thomas Laminen and Tony Roche making it a Ferrari 3-4. And it's the top 4 all for TF10 there. Nando Moreira and Timo Zelenkovic still battling up towards the line here. But it wasn't quite there, and I do believe Timo Zelenkovic ran out of fuel right on the line.
Oh, it's a 3-wide moment as well between some of the other guys. Jesus, what's happened here on this last lap? But there you go. What a finish that is. As both Red Bulls do get into the points, and Jack Humphries just misses out, so SLC don't even get a point. DRS has been enabled, so Benzoni strategy might have worked, but he needed another 5 or 6 laps.
I reckon if a safety car came out, that strategy could have worked. Very much could have. But unfortunately for SRC, it didn't play off. But fortunately for TF10, they nailed it absolutely perfectly. Brilliant result from all 4 drivers. Just fantastic work. I feel like driver of the day. I mean, we could give it to the likes of Parodi, or we could give it to the likes of Tony Roche. But Matthew Alder, it's got to be for me.
I think so. I would agree with that.
When he needed to put his foot down, pull away from the field, he certainly did that. Reason why he's standing on the top of the podium. He was able to make that strategy work. He was able to time it perfectly, deploy his battery exactly when it was needed, and, well, he comes out of a race win for it. Brilliant stuff there from the entire TF10 outfit, but especially from Matthew Alder.
Certainly has. But yeah, congratulations to Alder, and obviously Parodi and Tony Roche finishing for 2nd and 3rd.
Yes, absolutely. And then further down the order, you've got Laminen P4, Moreira P5, Valentino Labella P6, Zelenkovic P7, Violo P8, Rosenberg P9, Race P10. Jack Humphries just a little bit shy of grabbing a couple of points there in P11. Tom Roberts P12, Ajaj Dimash P13, Franco P14, Benzoni P15. Going on that bold strategy, it didn't work out. Ivan Santamaria, Javier Domine, Bogdan Moldovan, Tope and Lindhar all retiring from a race. Unfortunate, but again, at the same time, it's just one of those things which can happen. And, you know, these drivers, they show in, week out, give it their all. End of the day, that's all you could ever ask for. It's the reason why we love PSGL so much, because, again, we are community focused. We do love trying to get as many drivers involved as possible. So, if you're even somewhat slightly inspired by what you just saw there today and you want to come give it a go, join in the Discord. We've got leagues set up from all the way from, you know, the F1s with the likes of Jana Watmir, the Thomas Ronhaars, you know, to the F2s, F3s, F4s, F5. They all get broadcast, but we've got so many more below that as well. There's these if you use assists as well. I know, for an example, Alex loves to use a little bit of traction control assist. He finds it a little bit easier to run the race. I know I have to use it, especially when I'm playing on a controller, because otherwise I end up facing backwards coming out of turn 1. There's so many different opportunities to get yourself involved over at PSGL, so I highly encourage you to come join us. Join and be part of the PSGL family. We'd love to see every single one of you. Come get yourselves involved. General chat, everyone's very nice. Everyone will have a word with you. It's brilliant. But, Alex, what else is there left to say about this one?
I don't think there's anything else to say, Josh. That was a great race. I really enjoyed that. Obviously, it would have been nice if we got a little bit of dry running towards the end because it can change some things up. Obviously, it's a shame we have a full wet race. But, another race done. Only a few rounds left now.
Yes.
I think we've got about. I think we are literally, I'd say, at the halfway point. We're halfway there. Living on a prayer, as Bon Jovi once said.
That was John Bovey, no?
No, it's Bon Jovi.
No, John Bovey.
Oh, John Bovey. Yeah, he's a long lost brother.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, next week, Portugal, Portimao, a very different circuit to Paul Ricard.
I love that circuit.
It's certainly interesting. It creates some great battles, but until then, 7 PM next week, 28th on the Thursday, we'll be there. We do have the E-Series again happening tomorrow night at 7, and then we've got the PlayStation splits happening on the Monday night as well before. No PC F1 on the Wednesday, unfortunately, but we are going to be back here for round 7 around Portimao. Certainly going to be a very interesting one, full of action, but again, as we mentioned, we do have the F2 and the F4 broadcasts, which have started roughly about half an hour ago. So if you're quick, you can go and see the start of their race. But until then, we'll catch you around next time. Goodbye for now.
He's got the inside, but up here is through on the left-hand side. Pumps the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Jana Watmir now to the last